The Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii. You're listening to us live on MSP Waves Radio, hosted by the Minnow Support Project, a community of Steemit users who are dedicated to helping newcomers to the Steem blockchain achieve success through community building, networking, and mutual support. I'm DJ Damashii, also known as Rodeo670 on Steemit, and you're tuning in to the 8th live broadcast of the Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in to the previous 7 episodes of the first ever Steem-related EDM radio show. And thank you, of course, to everyone tuning in right now. So, last week there was no live show. I was really sick. I was coughing my lungs up like every 5 seconds or so. It was pretty bad. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to have a nice little Valentine's Day episode like I wanted to. But yeah, that sucks. But the show must go on. We move on with our lives, etc., etc. Right? So, before I begin, I do have to inform you all that MSP Waves Radio and its owners take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show host or their guests. Statements and show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of the radio station. The material on the Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii is provided for educational and informational purposes only. So, to get this show started off on the right foot, you guys know how I do it. I always like to start off with a song. I noticed that tonight, of all nights, when I decided to start my show off with this one particular song, unfortunately, Crimson Clad isn't in the audience. But I chose this song specifically because I thought she would be listening, because she typically listens into like the beginning of these shows, not just my show, but like this time block. And so I wanted to play this song, and hope that she would appreciate it, but she's not here. But anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna start this show off by playing this song, and it's called "Till We Die." It's by Keizo and Sullivan King. All right, everyone. Again, that was Till We Die by Keizo and Sullivan King. So, before I go on, I do just want to say thank you again to everybody who's tuning into this show right now. I see Angel is here, Cheniokus. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Christianolu, Dudix, HZ432 Creations is here. Intuitive Jacob, Ivan Atman, LNL Farms, Menno, Pechishimena. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but Pensif is here. Peter V, Rondon, Red Rika, Scuzzy, Simgirl, Soundwaves, Photon, Team Steam, The Philosophizer, and Trip the Spider. You guys are all awesome. Thank you so much for being here, guys. So today, for tonight's show, we'll be talking about an aspect of electronic dance music culture that I haven't covered yet, actually, which is the totem. But before that, before I go right into the meat of the matter, I did just want to kind of address my absence from Steemit for all those people who are following me and have wondered where I've been and if I have just like dropped off the face of the earth. I went through like this weird kind of, I don't want to call it burnout, but because that sounds bad, but it was basically a burnout phase. And it was funny because when I first started on Steam, and I heard all these longtime like veterans of Steam saying, blah, 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 burnout this, burnout that, I couldn't really I couldn't really understand how someone could get burnt out on Steam because I was just so like captivated by all things Steam, and I put all my all into it and whatever. And yeah, whenever people would tell me about getting burnt out, I'd be so confused, like, wow, I wonder how people get to that point. And I don't know how, but somehow it happened to me. And so it's been a weird 2 weeks away from Steam. I haven't posted anything since 2 weeks ago, after the last show that I had. But I'm back, guys. I'm back, and here I am. I'm trying to get back into this habit of posting daily on Steam. So, Steam's been good to me, and it's something that I should not be taking for granted and stuff. Anyway, so back to talking about totems for tonight. So so totems. When people say that word, typically the first thing that comes to mind is like Native Americans and totem poles and stuff. But that's not what we're talking about tonight, actually. So to start talking about totems, the dictionary defines totems as it says, among some peoples, an animal or natural object considered as being ancestrally related to a given kin or descent group and taken as its symbol. And so, yeah, that's like the typical dictionary definition of totems. The rave dictionary, my personal rave dictionary, I should say. I'm sure there's an actual rave dictionary out there full of rave terms and stuff, but in my personal rave dictionary, a totem, I define it as an object or sign that serves as a beacon for members of a rave family to find their group. And like a traditional totem, a lot of times it does embody the spirit or energy of their group. And so, totems actually, from my understanding and my experience of everything, they're actually a pretty recent development within the EDM community. I think because I've stated on my show before how this is actually my second go at being active in the EDM community. The first time around was back in like 2011 or so. And back in those days, I honestly don't remember seeing any totems. Like EDC Las Vegas 2011, the very first EDC that was in Las Vegas. I went there and honestly, I don't remember seeing any totems. And if there were, they were so scarce that it wasn't really a thing to be noticed, I guess you could say. Yeah. So my best guess, because I personally can't pinpoint exactly when totems started showing up widespread in the electronic dance music culture. But from my experience, I would guess that it was most likely after 2011, probably in like 2013 or so. That was around the time that I started to get jaded from the scene and I started to go to events a lot less. So yeah, maybe that's when it started at around that time. I'm not too sure, like I said, but yeah. So with that, let's pause for another song, guys. This one is "I'm in a State of Trance" by Ben Gold. All right. Again, everyone, that was "I'm in a State of Trance" by Ben Gold. So, tonight we are talking about totems at festivals. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Again, I can't say that enough. You guys are awesome. So, I was talking before that song about like how I think totems probably didn't become a thing until like 2013 or so. And so I wanted to talk about like the very first time that I actually noticed a totem at an event myself. and that was after I had already moved to Salt Lake City. And the very first show that I went to after moving out here to Salt Lake City, it was the very first show back in like anything EDM related. Actually, after a while of being on a break from the scene, I actually never thought I would come back. Honestly, I thought that was just another chapter of my life that was like, all right, I tried it out. It was fun. I had a lot of fun, but that's done. That's over. So I was so wrong. But anyway, so I was at this show in 2015 here in Salt Lake City, and it was actually an Above and Beyond group therapy show. They came to Salt Lake City for one, and I guess before I go into this, I should say that totems are not club things, and what I mean by that is within the EDM world, there's shows and festivals and tours and stuff that happen at all these different types of venues. And one of the most popular venues, I should say, is nightclubs. That's where these artists go when they're not on tour, or like when they have a residency or whatever. Or sometimes, when they're on tour, they pop into a club. It depends on where they get booked. But anyway, so people, you will, I can almost guarantee you that you will never see a totem at a nightclub, because ravers know that that's not the place for them. Because one of the purposes that totems serve is to help your rave fam find you and group up again. And that's at a festival when there's like thousands, tens of thousands of people there, seas of people everywhere, as opposed to a smaller venue like a nightclub where there's maybe like 100 people or so. Anyway, so I was at this Above and Beyond group therapy show in 2015 here in Salt Lake City, and I was walking around just kind of exploring a little bit before Above and Beyond came on, and I went outside, and this chick had she was holding up her totem, and it was like I said, it was the very first totem I had ever seen, but like myself in person. And it was like this amazing, it caught my attention because it was so shiny, honestly. She had like this really long PVC pipe thing, and attached to it at the very top was the Anjuna Beats logo. And for those of you who don't know, Anjuna Beats is the record label for Above and Beyond. And so she had the Anjuna Beats logo, and it was studded with these I don't know if it was like disco ball material or something like that, but it was very studded and speckled and whatnot. It was shining in the light every time light would hit it and stuff. So so I saw that, and I went up to her and I started talking to her because I was like, whoa, that's it, this thing is so cool. And she started talking to me about how she made it and how much work went into making that thing. And it was so fascinating to me, because like I said, that was the very first time I'd ever seen a totem. I had no idea that people did stuff like that and brought them to raves. But it made sense, I mean, it really does. I think it's just another extension of how raves emphasize everyone's individual creativity, right? So anyway, after I noticed that totem at the Above and Beyond show, all of a sudden it was like everywhere I went, I was seeing totems in all these pictures, and I didn't start going to festivals again until just last year. So I don't know, I didn't see any other totems at festivals until last year, 2017, after I started going to festivals again. And every single festival that I went to, there was never ever a shortage of totems. But I should say, I should say that totems are not club things, but they're also not only festival things. Like I said, I met like the very my very first exposure to totem stuff was at an Above and Beyond group therapy show. And that one wasn't in a nightclub. It was at the Great Saltaire, which is one of our big venues out here, and it's like the main venue that gets selected for festivals and for like the tours from the bigger artists and whatnot. Anyway, so yeah, as I was saying, last year I just experienced this explosion of totems everywhere, and it was the first time that, aside from that Above and Beyond show, it was my first exposure to like widespread totem use within the EDM community, and it was pretty sick. I could really appreciate it, and I really uh, I really enjoy seeing totems everywhere. Honestly, like a lot of people will be annoyed by them, especially like the shorter people who get stuck behind these totems, and then they end up not being able to see the DJ or whatever. I can understand that. I can understand that source of frustration for them, for sure. But I think more than the frustration aspect of it, I think it's fascinating because people's like even more so. I want to say even more so than candy and outfits wise. I feel like totems really bring out people's creativity, and it really puts it on full display for everyone to see at a rave, at a festival. And it's I I personally have never made a totem myself. I probably will one of these days. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I've been very on the fence about it basically. But before I go on, And again, everyone, that was Empire of Hearts by Gaia. And you're listening to The Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii on MSP Waves Radio. Thank you so much to everyone who is tuning in right now. You guys are all awesome. So, we're talking about totems tonight, rave totems. And so, I don't think a show about totems would be complete without me talking about the different types of totems that there are out there. And this is by no means like a comprehensive list or anything like that. It's just, a few examples of like the most common types of totems that you'll see at a festival. And so the most common one that you'll see, honestly, is the meme. And basically that's just people who print out memes. A lot of them are just, recycled memes that they find online. But there are those who go above and beyond and actually like create their own rave related memes and turn it into totems, which is really, really cool. Like I said, I'm all about that like individual expression of creativity and whatnot that goes into making these totems. Yeah, and there's an example of that. One of my favorite memes, actually, that I saw at EDC Las Vegas last year, it's this picture of this chick who's like bawling her eyes out, and the text on this meme, the text on this meme is, "All you care about is fucking trance." And I don't know why, but the very first time I saw that, I just broke out in laughter. I couldn't stop laughing. I thought it was the most hilarious thing ever. I just, because I love trance myself. Trance is one of my favorite subgenres of EDM. So, that's a funny meme that I saw last year. And then there's another style of meme, which is just a plain text meme. And this is kind of like, I don't want to say it's like the most basic type, because I don't want it to sound like I'm trying to talk down on people who just use plain text memes or plain text totems, because that's not at all what I'm trying to do. But I guess the word I should be using is, it's the simplest totem to put together. Because you just, like I said, you just have to slap some words onto a thing and call it a day. But all right, but even with something like that, there is it's not like just because somebody chose to do like just a plain text totem that it's not cool or anything like that, because actually there's like really significant meaningful totems out there that are just plain text totems. I saw one, actually. I saw one of them at EDC last year, and while I don't fully remember the wording of this totem, and I swear I had a picture of it on my phone, but I'm looking through it right now and I can't find the picture. So I'm just going to have to paraphrase from memory. Hopefully I don't butcher it or whatever. But basically, this meme said something about like leaving all your false perceptions at the door, and like dropping all your false pretenses, and basically coming to the rave as you are. Who you are is good enough, and you should love who you are and share that person with others, instead of trying to be this other person that everybody wants you to be. That sort of message, and like I said, it's very profound, and sometimes that's all you need to get a message across, is just plain text. So don't ever let anybody make you feel bad if you're somebody who uses plain text totems at raves. That's there, just because you're using a plain text thing, it doesn't mean it's any less special, or whatever. Like, I'm sure you guys get what I'm trying to say here. Anyway, so the next type of totem you'll see typically is a plushie. Typically, people will like mount a plushie onto a pole and hold it up. A lot of bass heads, actually, a lot of bass shows, you'll see like plushy squid totems everywhere. I still don't quite understand or know how this plushy squid thing became associated with bass head shows. So I don't know, but I've been seeing it a lot more often at bass head stuff. So yeah, that's interesting. Or sometimes you'll see people, you know, with like Pokemon plushies or whatever. It's just basically, you know, it's another simple way to get a totem out there, and people will comment on it and what have you. Ooh, excuse me. Another type of totem that you'll see out there is the inflatable types, and this can be anything inflatable. Honestly, I've seen blow up dolls at raves. Yeah, blow up doll totems at EDC last year were ridiculous. There was more than one. um, and then you have people who like bring inflatable chairs and use that. I've seen that once at a rave at a festival. Someone just had this big ass inflatable chair and they mounted it onto a pole and like carried it around. It was interesting. I've seen one of the ones that like means a lot to me because of the people, you know, that I was with that had them. Uh, is these palm tree inflatable things. Like a bunch of people from Guam had them last year at EDC, and so you know, yeah, each totem is a direct expression of the creator's creativity. And in most cases, you will never find two totems that are exactly alike. And like I said, this is because totems typically are, you know, are an expression of each individual's creativity and individuality. So, anyway, where was I? I was talking about totems, the types of totems. You'll also see light up totems. And these typically are like a combination of any of the previous totem styles that I've gone over. And the last one that I saw was really cool. I saw it at Decadence, actually, Decadence SLC. And it was this totem. It was just this sign. Gosh, the words on the sign are they're not coming up in my memory right now. So unfortunately, I don't remember what the sign said. What I do remember is that this sign was very lit up. There were lights on it like everywhere, and everybody could see it, and it was double sided, and it was really cool. The lights would like blink and stuff and change. Yeah, it was pretty cool. A lot of people. I love the light. I love the lit up totems a lot because especially at EDC, for instance, where it goes on all night. Lit up totems, they make it that much easier to find you, basically. All right. So a lot of times, the totem bears some sort of significance to everyone in the rave fam. For instance, like I was saying earlier, these inflatable palm tree totems that the Guamanians had at EDC last year. I met up with a bunch of. I just randomly bumped into a bunch of people from Guam last year at EDC, and not only did they have the Guam flag flying high, but a bunch of people in their group were holding up their little inflatable palm tree totems. Which, you know, I mean, like I said, it bears significance to the whole group because they're all from Guam, they're all from this island, you know, so it's like palm tree islander, that kind of stuff. Anyway, yeah. I feel like I've been talking your ear off for a while, so here's another song for you guys. This one is Angel on My Shoulder by Cascade.
It's time you see the love.
All right, everyone. Again, that was Angel on My Shoulder by Cascade, one of my favorite Cascade tracks of all time. It is such a classic, and I love all of that stuff. It's I don't know, it's a lot chiller than most of the music that I play on my show, for sure. So tonight we're talking about totems. You guys are listening to the Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii on MSP Waves Radio. Thank you all for tuning in again. I really appreciate you guys being here with me tonight. So we're talking about totems tonight, and I never thought, like, I never saw myself getting into totems, like, as in, like, making them myself and, taking them to shows and stuff. And to this day, like I said earlier, I still have never made a totem myself. I always thought that they were really, really cool. And I kind of have always wanted to, I kind of have always wanted to make one. I, in fact, actually, I was seriously, like, trying to plan one out last year. But it never came to fruition, unfortunately. So it's still, the door's still open for me to make my first totem ever. Eventually at one of these raves, one of these festivals, I'll make it. I don't know. It's just so daunting to start, honestly. Like, not, I don't know. If I make a totem, I want it to be, like, super special and, like, just, like, flashy and gaudy, and I don't know. I guess this is, like, the I don't know. I guess this is, like, my inner narcissist showing. But if I make a totem and I bring it to a festival, I want it to be something that people will comment on, basically. I want people to approach me and be like, "Oh, cool totem, bro." Like, maybe not with those exact words, right? But you guys know what I mean. Anyway, yeah, I've honestly been thinking, like, seriously thinking about or considering making a totem ever since Escape Psycho Circus last year. And I think the biggest thing that's been holding me back is that I'm just wary of the potential burden factor. And what I mean by that is, so at raves, I love to, like, go around everywhere and explore and talk to people and dance my ass off, while I'm at it, have a good time and whatnot. And I'm worried that if I take a totem with me to a festival, I won't be as free to do all of that as I'm used to doing. Because then I'll have this, big ass sign that I have to hold on to for the entire night. And I don't know if I'm ready for that, guys. I really don't. Yes, Sound Legion, I did just say Escape Psycho Circus, the Halloween EDM festival that takes place in San Bernardino, California every year. So let's see. Where was I? Yeah, totems. So I always, like, whenever I see totems at festivals, I always, like, this thought occurs to me, like, man, I wonder how much of a bitch it is for that person to carry that around the entire time. Like, especially the bigger, more intricate ones. It's pretty crazy. Like, some people will carry, like, really heavy totems the entire show, and I'm just like, man, how do you do it? How do you do that and still dance your ass off and still have a good time? I don't know. So I really don't know, but I'm trying to, like I said, I'm probably gonna make a totem one of these days. This year might just be the year. I'm taking my best friend J Dubs to EDC and possibly Electric Forest. So it's going to be huge, massive stuff, and I might just need a totem for those so that we can find each other easier and whatnot. Anyway, so here is some psytrance for you guys. I know people have been wanting to hear some psytrance, and so I don't play a lot of psytrance on my show, guys, unfortunately, because pretty much every psytrance track uh, lasts for over 7 minutes. And I don't know if you guys are down to listen to tracks that long. But here is another over 7 minute psytrance track, guys. I'm sorry, but this one is called. I wanted to play this also because I thought it was pretty fitting for tonight's subject, the creation of totems. This one is called "We Are the Creators," and it's by Vinny Vici and Brian Kearney. All right, everyone. Again, that was We Are the Creators by Vinny Vici and Brian Kearney. So, we are talking tonight about totems, rave totems, here on the Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii, hosted on MSP Waves Radio. So, in addition to being a beacon for everyone in your rave fam, totems are also a great way to meet new people and make new friends at festivals, which is, of course, another reason why I've been seriously considering making my own totem. I love the social aspect of it, honestly. Because I myself will just randomly, I will go up to complete strangers all the time to comment on their totems. And like even just something simple like, yo, that's so sick. And then the person's typically like, oh, dude, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And then we start talking, right? It starts with just complimenting people on their totems or commenting on their totems. And then that typically, has a very large potential to kind of graduate and evolve into a more of a getting to know you type of conversation, which then leads to new friends. So, a lot of people will say that they want to make a totem, but they don't think it'll measure up to all of the other totems out there, or how they feel that it's not a good, like, they just feel like if they were to make a totem, it wouldn't be something that, people would comment on, basically. And that's, in my opinion, that's not a very, good way to look at it. Especially because I can't stress enough that totems, as with, all these other expressions of creativity, like your rave outfit and the candy that you make, totems are an expression of one's creativity and individuality. And so people who are thinking about making totems, for the first time ever or whatever, to bring to festivals with them, you shouldn't get too hung up on trying to be as, quote unquote, good as other people's totems. You guys should just let the words, images, and or objects flow through you into your unique totem creation process. Because nobody, in the end, yes, you're making a totem so that other people can appreciate it and other people can find you or whatever. But in the end, you're really making that totem as an expression of yourself, of your own creativity, your own creative spark in life. You and all of us are different, and we all have, different levels of creativity and different ways of expressing that creativity. And so you shouldn't compare your potential totem with other people's already established totems and say, oh, well, mine isn't good, or mine, people won't like mine or whatever. Because honestly, as long as you like it, that should be good enough, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe that's idealistic of me to say, but let's see. So people in the chat are asking for photos of totems. And I will be posting pictures of some of the cool totems that I've seen in my recap post, which will be going up tomorrow. So anyway, let's see, where was I? I was talking about totems and making totems, and how it's an expression of each individual person's creation, and then also Done Stuff said, in the audience chat, that it goes for everything, not just a rave totem, which is true. Absolutely, Done Stuff. I completely agree. I feel like a lot of problems that we have in life, are just, they arise from us comparing, ourselves or our creations to other people's, and that's, it's not a very healthy way of living. It's not a very good way of living, in general. But yeah, so anyway, I've been talking so much, guys, I'm sorry, but thank you guys for tuning in and for listening to me ramble on and on about totems and stuff. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. I think I'm gonna play another song for you guys. And this one is actually one of my favorite Tiesto songs from back in the day. It's one of his older ones. I love old Tiesto. I prefer old Tiesto to new Tiesto, which doesn't mean that I can't get down to new Tiesto, because I definitely can. I definitely enjoy some of his new stuff. I really miss the old Tiesto. So without further ado, here is "In the Dark" by Tiesto. Whew, man. I got so into that song, guys, that I almost forgot that it was almost over, and I almost missed that cue to come back on the air. But yeah, again, everyone, that was "In the Dark" by Tiesto. Thank you guys for tuning in. You guys are all awesome for being here, and for choosing to spend a portion of your Wednesday night with me, DJ Damashii, here on MSP Waves Radio. Oh man. All right. So, Before I go into my next little segment here, I do have to remind all the listeners that MSP Waves Radio and its owners take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show host or their guests. Statements and show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of the radio station. The material on the Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii is provided for educational and informational purposes only. So, you guys who have been following my show from day one and have heard me talking about, what this show is about and have basically just heard what I've been talking about every single episode, know that I do like to include an aspect of esotericism on my shows. I like to talk about the more esoteric side of rave culture and of, electronic dance music, the electronic dance music scene. And before I go on with this thought, yes, absolutely, Sound Legion. You can definitely send me tracks. That was one of my original intentions with this show, actually, is to also feature music from artists on the blockchain. So definitely feel free to send me your tracks, Sound Legion, and anybody else that's listening right now, honestly. If you're on the Steam blockchain, and honestly, even if you're not on the blockchain yet, I guarantee you, if you get on my show and we play some of your tracks and you see the reception from people, you'll seriously consider getting on the Steam blockchain and setting up a Steemit account for yourself. So, yeah, yes, Sound Legion. Anything under the EDM umbrella, basically, you can send me and I'll play it on here and stuff. I can't guarantee, obviously, that I'll be playing every single track that people send me, but I will definitely try my best to put the talent of our blockchain artists out there on full display for everyone. So, thank you, iBattleX. Thank you for saying that you love my show. I really appreciate that. Yes, Done Stuff, you do have to own the music that you send me. Just because, so like the radio station, we have to, the music that we play on the air, it has to be run through like this database or whatnot so that we can get the artist paid. And so if that track isn't on there, then I don't think we can play it on the air. But, the workaround to that is if you're a blockchain artist and it's your track and you made it and you send it to me saying that I can play it on the air, then, I'll play it on the air, basically. So, anyway, I was talking about totems and let's see. Right. I was getting into the more esoteric side of rave totems. And this one actually is just going to be a brief, short little segment because I am in my second hour now, and I would like my guest for tonight. I do have an open line for guests tonight, by the way, but somebody already just came and messaged me saying that they would love to come on the air tonight. So, yeah, I don't want to take up too much of this second hour. So, with totems, because they're so widespread at EDM events and because so many people are looking at them constantly, totems have this real potential to essentially become sigils. And sigils are a concept within the magical community, the esoteric community. And basically what a sigil is it's an image or a symbol that's kind of like amalgamated from, there's different methods of creating sigils basically, but one of them would mean that the sigil you create is like an amalgamated form of like a phrase that you write out. And the idea behind it is that you stare at this sigil, this symbol, and you charge it with energy, and then it kind of becomes activated, I guess you could say, and it carries out, the intended purpose of why you created that sigil. And so with rave totems, because they're being seen by everyone, because they're people are staring at these totems, right? And couple that with bright flashing lights and lasers, and then also repetitive beats. It really has this potential to program the subconscious mind. Exactly, Soundwaves Photon. It's like chaos magic. Exactly. Chaos magicians are actually the most associated with sigil magic and with sigils. So at a rave, in theory, all right, and this is in theory, in all caps and in quotes or whatever. I can't stress that enough. In theory, at these festivals, someone who knows what they're doing could create a sigil and use it as a totem to try to influence the subconscious minds of people who go to EDM festivals. Or or they could use the energy of the people at the festival, who are the people who are staring at this sigil totem of theirs, to boost the efficacy of their sigil work and activate it using not just their own personal energy, but the energy of everybody around them that's also dancing and enjoying the rave and staring at their totem. Uh, and so, yeah, but it's. See, this is why I love talking about this stuff, because this is stuff about rave life that people, like most people, wouldn't even occur to them. People don't ever consider the esoteric side of raving, I feel like. And that's why I want to like shed a light on that as part of my show, in addition to my show being this focus on shining a light on the human side of raving, and showing real life ravers and people who enjoy going to these things, and what their goals and dreams are in life. The things that they talk about and dream about and aspire to be, the things that they fear, all that stuff. In addition to all that kind of stuff, showing the human face of EDM, I definitely came into this radio show with a desire to also shed light on the more esoteric nature of raving, because oh, excuse me. Because I believe that knowledge is power, and this particular knowledge is very important knowledge that all people who call themselves ravers, and people who love going to these events, I feel like this is information, this is knowledge that they should know. For whatever the reason may be. Maybe it's just good for people to know, so that they can take appropriate measures to defend themselves from a negative. I don't know how to attack, I guess is the right word to say. Because in one of my previous shows, I talked about how much I love Dada Life, because of how I personally believe that Dada Life knows. They know what's going on, and they know what they're doing with their music and their presentation and their shows, because of that night at EDC 2011, where they were playing those subliminal messages, and it just hit me right then and there. I'm just like, oh my god, these guys are doing the Lord's work, basically. um, anyway, speaking of Dada Life, here is a song by Dada Life. This one is called Tick Tick Tick. Here goes. All right, everyone. Once again, that was Tick, Tick, Tick by Dada Life. And you are listening to The Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii on MSP Waves Radio. Thank you, everybody who is still here, still tuning in and listening to my show. You guys are all awesome for being here. So now, in this second hour of my show, I have a guest with me on the air. Tyler, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hopefully everybody else out there can hear you as well. So everyone, this is my friend Tyler, who I've actually, if memory serves correctly, I've never met you in person, Tyler, but we've been to the same shows. I feel like we have. Why don't you tell us, tell everybody here who's listening, a little more about yourself, who you are, what you do with raving and stuff, and then go into this crazy story of how we met.
All right, sounds good. Been going to raves since 2004. I've been to hundreds of them. Is probably an understatement. My rave name is Warcraft, so it's kind of interesting you're doing the totem topic today. Somebody in the chat brought up about how it always reminds them of Thorin Shaman on World of Warcraft, which is where I got my rave name from, so that's pretty hilarious. But yeah, we met during the Dada Life #1 fan contest. They did a contest on their Facebook page where you had to share certain keywords and stuff like that, and you could only do it every so many hours and whatnot. And we met through that, and I actually wound up winning the contest and got to go meet them and be on stage with them when they released their Happy Violence single and played it for the first time. So that was pretty awesome. We kind of worked together once we figured out what the scoring was like. I was beating everybody by like millions of points. So we like pulled everybody on your team onto my side to beat
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, basically, because man, dude, I went so hard on that contest. Like, I bet all my friends were so pissed at me for spamming like every single hour on the hour kind of thing. Like, but I really wanted to win, dude. Like, I really, really wanted to win so bad, and I'm sure you understand, how I felt about it. And once I saw that you had pulled way, way too far ahead of me for me to ever have a hope of catching up, I'm just like, all right, obviously I'm not going to win this thing anymore, but I still have all these dedicated friends who have helped me like this far. I might as well pool them all for somebody else who's, to help them win. And that was when I was like, all right, oh, look, this Tyler dude is in the lead. Let me just help him win. So,
His name was Hako Kosaka. I'm still friends with him as well. Him and I were going back and forth for like a week. It was a 30-day long contest, and I had actually timed it because I figured they'd end the contest at either midnight or noon. So I had timed mine so that I would get it in right before, like 10 minutes before noon or 10 minutes before midnight each time. And he had a ton of people on Twitter that would retweet his stuff, and I didn't have anybody on Twitter or any friends on Twitter or anything. So I made like 32 fake Twitter accounts because, Dadaland to retweet all my own stuff. But I timed it so 10 minutes before noon on the day it was over, I got to go because you could go every 4 hours with all their stuff. So about 10 minutes before noon, I went in and redid it, and I passed him with like 5 minutes before they announced it and wound up winning.
damn, that's pretty smart, dude. I wish I could have thought of that.
Yeah, well, I was doing pretty well with just the Facebook stuff, and then he was just killing me on Twitter. He was getting like double the points. So I went and made all the fake fake accounts and just started retweeting myself over and over.
That's ingenious though. Like, wow. I never knew that that's what you did, dude.
Winning.
Yeah, for real though. I mean, it was worth it in the end because if I recall correctly, you were awarded a passport to Dadaland, right?
Right. I didn't get a passport when I won. This was like passport thing. They started doing the passports once they did their own app. Now they have the app where you can go and share all the stuff within it and get points. They
Right.
they did it. Their first person they gave it to. It's a chick named Banana in
Oh, gotcha.
Vegas. She was always in her banana suit with a little red flower on her head. She got the first one, and they did it based off of points on their app, which basically worked the same kind of way. And I was working a lot of hours at the time, but I stayed on top of that for maybe like a month or so and was in first place, and then just ran out of time to do any of that. And then she wound up destroying me. But I've still gotten to meet him like 10, 15 times, been on stage with him several times. You know, it's and I'm 32 now. I don't go anywhere near as much as I used to go. You know, I used to go to every single show and travel to Vegas and all over the place and go, you know, just to see them play. But I don't get that into it anymore. But all the people that have them now are all pretty awesome. We have a Facebook group with all the citizens of Dadaland, the Banana Fam, are all in there. There's probably like 60, 70 of us now.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm still hoping that someday I get my citizenship to Dadaland.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's definitely cool that they went out and did that. I mean, of all the artists that I've followed, and I've followed tons of them, Dada Life is by far the coolest. I mean, they love their fans. I mean, they have their own festival that they do every year, Dada Land the Voyage. And every year they, after the show's over, it's a camp out. They go around in their golf cart with their manager and they stop at every single campsite. They give every single person who came a hug. I mean, just who does that? You know what I mean?
Oh, see, that's why I love them so much, dude. They're my favorite of all time. Like, in the entire scope of EDM, Dada Life will always be my number one because of stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I said in the chat when I was typing that my license plate says Data Life, and you can call my cell phone from other cell phones by dialing star star banana man. Like that's how into it I am.
That is awesome. So, let's see. Why don't you like? So I know you said you've been raving for a while. Why don't you tell us how you got started with raving?
Well, I actually out of high school at the summer after I graduated high school. I basically most of my friends I played sports with and stuff in school, and they all went off to college, and I was one of the only ones that kind of stayed back in my old neighborhood. So I was actually like looking around for people that I knew to like hang out with because I was bored. I was going to junior college, kind of, going through the rigmarole that you do when you get out of high school. And I actually was going through my yearbook looking for people that I knew, and found one person that we used to play Age of Empires on the computer with all the time, and gave him a call. He had left his phone number in my yearbook, and then we started hanging out, playing video games, and he invited me to go to EDC that summer in 2004. Was the last year they had it still at the NAS Event Center before they moved it to the Coliseum. And so that's when I started going. And then I went to every EDC every year since then until this very last year was the first one that I didn't go to. I got married in November, so I was saving up my monies.
Right. Yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah, which sucks because this is last year was the first EDC that I went back to since 2011.
I remember you posting about that. I'm like, damn it! I finally have an opportunity to actually hang out with them, and it's the 1 year I'm not going.
Right? Yeah.
But
Uh
I'm gonna try and make it this year. We'll see. See
yeah.
how the money turns out for me.
Yeah, I hope you get to go, dude, cuz oh my god, my heart is so set on going. Like I have one last payment to make on my ticket and then it's a done deal. I'm so like excited for this year because I mean everything about EDC is changing this year, honestly. Like I can't even imagine what it's gonna be like. I mean, a lot of people are saying it's gonna be a shit show because it's the first year, and like any time that all these kinds of changes are made, the first year is always a shit show, basically. But I don't know. I have faith in Insomniac, and I feel like Pasquale wouldn't have hyped up all of this camping stuff and all these changes if he hadn't already thought about, you know, X, Y, and Z contingency plans.
Yeah, for sure. I got to give it to Insomniac. They do a fantastic job. I've seen this show evolve, over the course of more than a decade of the show changing, and even when they have what people think are big problems, they're really not. They had issues with traffic and issues with the buses and stuff like that. But I mean, it comes down to it. You got to plan what's going on. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of people converging on some location. You got to really think about what's going on before you get started. But I always thought that having camping would be something that would be awesome. Obviously, I'm glad they changed the date because the heat has always been ridiculous at the time of the year they do it. It's right kind of smack at the beginning of summer, and it's 104 degrees outside during the day and 92 during the nighttime, so it's a bit much. But I think it's gonna be really cool. I've gone to Coachella a bunch of times, and the camping was what always made Coachella cool to me. Especially being an EDM fan, there's a lot of other types of music and stuff like that, but the camping is what really always made it that cool to me, and that what was the most fun part, because then you can take somebody out of the show and go back and hang out and be kind of away from all the noise and craziness for a few minutes, or hey, you want to have a hot dog or something.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, I always really thought that was cool. So adding that to EDC, I think, is going to be pretty bitching.
Yeah, I'm uh I'm actually also really happy that they moved the dates up because now that the date for EDC has been moved up to May, it is a lot more feasible for me to do EDC and Electric Forest in the same year. And I have my heart set on going to Electric Forest for the very first time ever this year as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. Electric Forest will actually be my very first camping festival where I'm actually camping because I don't think I'm going to be camping at EDC this year.
Yeah, just stay at the Hard Rock Hotel because they always have the really sick pool parties. I remember I was there with my wife now, and we were watching Fat Boy Slim spin from our hotel balcony, just chilling. It was it was so sweet, and the Hard Rock always had it's like the 20, 30 somethings that like to party a little too much, so it was always a really good time over there. But yeah, I don't know if I would do the camping this year. I think it would be a shit pile of fun, but no, I'm getting old now. I'm on the old side of the rave crew, so I don't know how well I would do outdoors that long.
Hey, but there's no such thing as being too old to rave.
Rave. A few of my friends are, in their mid late 40s, and met them at raves. And one of them I met, I've been friends with them for like 6 years now. I met him waiting in line for a Benny Benassi show that they do. And we were like stuck at the gate waiting to get into the show. We were, shot the shit for hours, and wound up coming back to my place with my girlfriend at the time, and we hung out, and we've been friends ever since.
See, that's like one of the things that I love the most about EDM culture is that from just the simplest, like most mundane of random conversations with a random passerby or a random person standing next to you in line somewhere, you build like the most amazing, like just the most amazing friendships with people.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I have probably hundreds of friends that I've met just in line or passed by, and we still are in contact. We still meet up whenever they're in town or I'm in their city, or we go to shows together. There's tons of them, and they've helped me out with all kinds of other things. In fact, I helped one of my buddies. He actually lives in Utah, not probably not too far from you. His family lives out in LA, and he had come out to get his grandfather's stuff in order. His grandfather had just passed away, and he came out here, and I was one of the only people that he knew that was available. So he called me, and I went and helped him move all of his grandfather's stuff out and get everything together for him, and help him chuck it in a U-Haul and all that kind of thing, you know. But you never know when you know, you're going to be around somebody that's going to come in handy, or you know, there's just hundreds of ravers and thousands of ravers all over the place, and they're always willing to, you know, pick up or give up their time and help a fellow raver out, which has always been really awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, my my personal like philosophy on it, I guess I could say, is that like I feel like the people that we meet at raves are like, I don't think that we meet these people by accident or by mere coincidence. I feel like the people that we meet at raves are people who, I don't know. This is gonna sound very like metaphysical, like you frou frou kind of stuff, but I feel like the people that we meet at raves are people that, you know, quote unquote, the universe knows that either you will need them in your life somewhere down the line, or they will need you in theirs somewhere down the line. Like, and that connection is just established at the rave, and you guys just like kind of keep in touch, and then one day, oh hey, what's up, dude? Can you help me with this?
They've made a connection across the ether of the universe.
Exactly. And with that, I'm gonna play some music so that this isn't just an hour of talking between us. Just give me a few minutes, everyone, and we will be back with my friend Tyler. But for now, I'm going to play. This is Tension by Habstract. All right, everyone. Again, that was Tension by Abstract. And you're tuned in right now to The Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii. I'm DJ Damashii, your host, and we are talking to my friend Tyler, who goes by the Philosophizer on Discord and Steemit. So let's see. Before that song, we were talking about. Honestly, Tyler, I don't remember what we were talking about, but let's talk about. So you said earlier that you're 32 now and you don't really go to shows and stuff as much anymore. Um, is it just because of the age, or is it like are your priorities elsewhere in life now that you don't that you choose not to go to so many shows and stuff?
It's mostly work and obviously I just got married, buy a house and start a family and do all that kind of stuff. Kind of trying to be responsible with my money and not blow like $5,000 on a weekend for shits and giggles. But I still go. Especially like I have a lot of friends that play in the Southern California rave scene, play happy hardcore, drum and bass, all that kind of thing. Those when they're playing and check out their stuff. When Dada Life's in town, I definitely go to their shows, but I'm just not like traveling across the country to go see them anymore or going every single weekend. I mean, probably for the first 4 years I started going to raves, I went literally every weekend, every single Saturday, if not multiple parties in a weekend. Go Friday to a desert party out in like Palmdale, Lancaster somewhere, and then go to a warehouse party on Saturday, and then probably be cracked out until the middle of the week.
Oh man, I remember that life in LA.
Yeah, seriously. Brings me back to all the good parties when you have to call into the info line like 2 hours before the party, and then you'd have to go to a map point where they'd have like directions on top of a table and directions under a table. And then if you weren't a cop, they'd give you the ones from under the table. And you'd have to like go out in the middle of the desert and set your odometer for 5 miles and then turn left at the glow stick and all that kind of shit.
The classic old school underground rave methods. Gotta love it.
That's something that's funny. Whenever I go to EDC, I tell these younger kids about stuff like this. They're like, no way, man. I'm like, yeah, this is how it used to go down.
I mean, it's how it still goes down sometimes, depending on where you're at and what like production companies are out there trying to reestablish that classic underground rave feel.
Yeah, they're definitely few and far between now. I mean, I at this point, all the people that throw all the undergrounds and all that kind of stuff, I've been friends with all of them for years, so I don't really have to like call the info line so much anymore.
Right.
But you know, there's definitely not so much of that, and it's become so much more mainstream now. Like when I first went to EDC, I think there were like 13,000 people at EDC, which was at the time the biggest, EDM festival in the Americas. And now it's like what they have 400 and some thousand people over the course of the 3 days. Like it's gotten so multiplied by how many people show up that it's almost impossible to do those kind of parties because what are you going to do on like an acre lot in the middle of Palmdale when like 10,000 people show up by accident?
Right.
But there's definitely a feel that those have that the big festivals don't. When you went to those, you knew everyone. It only took a couple of weeks of being a new raver wet behind the ears before you knew every single person and everybody knew you and you had your rave name and were out there trading candy and getting all into the whole thing. Now I think it's a lot of that like familyness is definitely there, but it's not like as tight knit as it used to be back in the day, quote unquote.
Yeah, back in the day. We were just talking about this earlier about saying back in the day, and because like now back in the day kind of refers to the 90s, and that makes me feel really old because when I think about the 90s, I still think it's only like I don't know 20 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's definitely I like to see where it's going, and it's nice. I think that for a while, a lot of the older ravers and people that are even older than me, they'd be like, "Oh, I'm so rave jaded," you know. They'd get like fed up with how the new kids would do stuff different than them. But it's like that's kind of hypocritical. I mean, that was your whole point in the first place, right? Was doing stuff different than the people before you and before that, and everything else, you know. So I think it's important that the older generation of ravers also kind of embraces what the new younger kids like to do. And you know, candy used to be a huge thing, and it's still a pretty big thing, but it's nowhere near in the realm that it used to be. You know, you didn't show up unless you made tradable candy. That was like, you just don't come without it. Like, what are you thinking? And now it's not so much, but every generation has their own thing that they do, and I'm just glad to see that people have embraced electronic music the way that they have, and that it's gotten to grow the way that it has. You know, it is really a sight to behold to go to something like EDC and look out. You know, when you come over the grandstands to look into that place, and there's 100,000 kids out there with neon lights jumping up and down to the beat of the same drum. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and a lot of the things that you just said is exactly the reason why I decided to to have this show, to even write up a proposal for this show for to get me on the air, is because I want to reestablish those things like candy and rave naming and all that stuff. I want that now that EDM is coming into the mainstream. Me personally, I feel like, those specific aspects of rave culture, like trading candy, making candy, trading candy, giving people rave names, stuff like that. I feel like that's something that we should never let fade away, because that is like the roots of rave culture. And if we don't like place emphasis or stress the importance of these things, then all these people who are complaining that Plur is dead are going to be right, but it's going to be on us because we didn't do our part to ensure the survivability of those things, you know.
Yeah, it's funny now, especially when I first started. Even it was kind of on the way out, but Plur used to have two R's in it at the very end. It would be respect and responsibility, and then the responsibility part got axed.
Right, yeah. I still see like old school ravers using two R's in their Plur every now and then.
Yep, for sure. And then, but I always thought that the candy thing was that, and the rave names. I thought those were two of the most important parts, especially in the underground scene, because especially when you bring new people in, it's a very great way for them to get to meet new people, and to meet new people that have experience in the scene, to be able to show them around. And what's the right like not like sorry, what is it, like having manners, I guess, at the rave, having getting
Oh, rave etiquette.
yeah, exactly, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. So to get that introduction by somebody who's been around the block a couple of times, as opposed to just like jumping in there and be like, oh, I'm gonna take 1,000 pills of ecstasy and fish out on the floor and act like a retard.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, like, I completely agree with you that candy and rave name are like the two most important things. And I've talked about those two topics actually on previous episodes of my show, where I go into why, like, the the procedure or process of giving someone a rave name is so significant. It's because it like, on a subconscious level, at the very least on a subconscious level, it reprograms that person's mind to, like, oh, every time I'm at a rave, I'm this new person. I'm not who I am out there in the outside world, the person that has this facade and is trying to be this person that everybody thinks I am. Here at this rave, I'm chaos, and I'm just who I am as a person, and I come as I am, and everybody appreciates that or they don't, and it's that's just the way it goes.
I think it's good. It's like having a well, first of all, I mean, it's more like being exactly yourself than having like being like a different person. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about other people judging you based on what you're wearing or how you act or any of that other stuff. You know, it's just go let it all hang out and have fun on a Saturday night without anybody, really giving a crap about it. But it's also like my rave name was given to me. I had just started playing World of Warcraft when I went to my first rave. It was right maybe a month or two after WoW came out, and I just like could not stop talking about how awesome it was. I thought it was like the greatest game ever, and so they named me Warcraft. And a lot of my friends also their rave names had to do with something that they were doing or talking about. So I mean, just when you introduce yourself as something like that, like other people be like, "Oh, I play WoW too," or it's something about them that automatically starts a conversation. It's the same with candy too. You go up to some person, it's like, "Here, let's trade candy," and now you just started a conversation with a completely random person that otherwise you would have had no real reason to talk to whatsoever.
Exactly. All right. So I'm gonna play another song just to break up the conversation for a little bit. This one is Unicorn Zombie Apocalypse by Borgor. Again, everyone, that was Unicorn Zombie Apocalypse by Borgor. You're listening to The Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii, and I'm here talking with my friend Tyler. And we are nearing the end of the show, Tyler, so there are just two more questions that I have for you. One of them, real quick. I know that you are on Steemit. How has your Steemit experience been going for you so far?
I've been doing a lot of reading on it, and I have a lot of content. I was trying to think of something to do specifically with it, and I was going to do kind of like historical travel stuff, like could do a travel blog type of thing, and then tell people about the history and stuff of it. But if you know anybody who has any video editing skills that they can send my way, that would be great because that's about where I need some help with right now. I've got everything written. I just have about 120 gigs of video to edit together and don't even really know where to begin on it.
Ah, you should ask around here in the Minnow Support Project. I'm pretty sure we've got more than a handful of people within MSP who would probably be willing to help you out with that and who are well versed with video editing kind of stuff.
That would be really awesome.
All right. And then my last question for you. It's a question that I ask all my guests who come on my show because this is called The Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii. So, Tyler, my friend, what is your dream in life?
What is my dream in life? Well, you're going to leave me 6 minutes to answer this one.
Actually, it's less than that because I also like to play No Ordinary Life by The Prophet to close out my show at like the 56 or 57 mark. So,
Uh-oh. I think it's changed a lot over the years, to be honest with you. It's like, oh, I wanted to be a DJ or whatever, and all these things. My dream now is to learn as much as possible with about as many as possible, so that once I have my own family and my own kids and all that type of thing, that I can pass that knowledge on. Because I mean, that's what makes people people, is the ability to pass on knowledge from one generation to the next. So I spend most of my time reading and listening to other people and trying to figure out as many things as I can, so I can instill that knowledge onto the next generation and to the next people that come on down the road. So that's my dream, is to be able to take in as much information and be able to pass that on as best as I can.
hell yeah. That's pretty sick, dude. And that's really important because as the generation right now that's living and that has seen shit basically, it definitely does fall onto us to share that knowledge and information with future generations, to try to help to continue to, I don't know, progress humanity or whatever.
Maybe they'll stop eating Tide Pods.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on my show tonight, Tyler. I really appreciate it. This is the end of the 8th episode of The Dancing Dreamers with DJ Damashii. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys are all awesome. I really, really do appreciate you being here. You've been listening to my friend Tyler. He's on Steemit. It's The Philosophizer. I posted a link in the audience chat for you guys to check him out. Please do check his profile out and show him some love if you feel like it. Is there any last comment or shout out or anything you want to give out before we end here, Tyler?
Well, first, thanks so much for inviting me to come on your show. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it. I don't want to end on a sad note, but one of my buddies, he just passed away here December 28th, and he was a big DJ in the Southern California happy hardcore scene. His name was Danger Dan, so I want to give him a shout out. And just, stay clear, have fun, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, I just want to give a final thank you again to Global Cop and Rondon and the station managers at MSP Waves Radio for allowing me to have this show and for supporting my efforts every step along the way. And with that, I leave you guys now with this track that I always end my shows with because I believe it is the rave anthem for all ravers. Here is Ordinary Life by the